All right, y'all. Welcome up. Welcome up. Give me just a minute. Apologize for the delay. I been sitting here for the past 10 minutes trying to get the old phone to charge up and get started, and it should here in a bit. So I'm going to just kick it off on the new phone with this space, and we'll start it off small. And here in a few minutes, I'll jump over to the other one on the Kaleo account, bring it up. But um, if you're in the audience, literally, if you're anybody that is listening right now, you should come up on stage, especially when it's a smaller group. Just better vibes that way. You can even step down in a few minutes whenever we get the Kaleo account up here. But what's going on, Rooster? How's it been, man?
Hey, how's it going, man? Enjoying the morning. Got a little bit of a cold front through last night, so it's actually I think it hit like 60 degrees last night on the way home. Cruising with the windows down, it was awesome. And then I got Panda Poker starting in about 25 minutes to win some of their Bored Ape raffle tickets. So
Really?
that'll be fun.
My
Yeah.
man.
And I did win a Panda Poker the other day. Now waiting for the point 0.2 ETH payout. So that was
Dude,
pretty cool.
there we go. That's awesome,
Yeah.
man. I mean, so is the entry just owning a panda and that's it?
Yeah, it's free to play. Um, Holders get access first, but then they've been having a ton of issues with people multi-accounting, creating bots. And it was because we were using Poker Now, but then they actually just released their poker platform, which I got to test out the other day, and that's what we're going to be running the tournament on today.
Love it, man. Love it. Well, I'm excited to hear how this one turns out. Is it the same payout with it, or is it winning another panda, or is it just winning another raffle like for the ape they have
So I think
their
first
account?
place gets 3 tickets, second two, and third place 1 ticket for the raffle.
That's awesome, man. So I mean, basically, it counts you in because the other way that they're doing it is the mint, right?
Right. So they bought the ape, and then if you own a panda, that's currently 1 ticket. If you mint a panda, you get 3 tickets per mint, and then you can also win in poker.
Oh, that's not bad, man. That's not bad. So let's see who else we got. Wonky friend up here. What's going on, man? By the way, anybody else? Before I bring up the Cleo account, we get a few more people on. I kind of like to set the stage a little bit with just a smaller vibe, smaller crew up here, and then bring on before we double, triple, quadruple the size of the listeners. So if anybody wants to come up on stage, lower pressure right now, you've never done it before, go ahead and request, and we'll get you up here. Wonky friend, what's going on?
Hello, man. How you doing?
I can't complain, sir. How about yourself?
Yeah, I think I might have corona. At least it feels like it, but apart from that, I'm feeling pretty good.
So apart from having COVID, you're feeling pretty decent. So, like, what
Yeah.
all symptoms do you have right now? Can you smell, taste, like, or are we far enough down the list
Yeah.
of strains that all of that has gone by the wayside?
Yeah, I can still taste. I just have I have a cold, but I don't know why. I'm at vacation. I'm in Turkey right now. So it's pretty hot, so I don't know how I am caught a cold. So I think it's corona. I
Hey,
didn't do a test, but I guess it is.
so how strict, like, if you do have it and you're on vacation right now, what does that look like as far as the process of getting home? Are you just stuck right now? Is that pretty difficult? Like, what does that look like?
No, I'm actually pretty lucky. I still have more than 2 weeks before I go back. So even if I have it, it should be over in 2 weeks, and then there should be no problem. I hope at least, or else there could be major problems because I need to start working
Dude,
uh, after 2 weeks. So let's see, let's see.
One last question is a completely ignorant American. What is there to do for vacation in Turkey? You know, I see see a decent amount about like I guess Istanbul. I'm trying to. Are there beaches? What are the main attractions in Turkey, bro? I'm so clueless. I won't lie.
Man, like, where do I start? Like, you can do anything almost. Like, you can, of course, there are beaches, there are tourist attractions, a lot of history, um, and especially the food. I think you heard about the food here. It's pretty popular all around the world. Like, maybe you know that salt guy that sprays salt on the steak. He's also from Turkey. I think he's called Salt Bay. And else you can even go skiing. There are like skiing places. Turkey is not known for that, but that's also a possibility. So there are many things to do. And also it's very cheap for Europeans, Americans, because the currency thing just is in favor of tourists right now. That's why it's pretty full at the moment.
10-4. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead bring on the other account. I think my phone is all right. If there's an echo, I'm gonna stay muted for a second while I do this. I always do some type of like weird reverb with the audio, so I apologize in advance, but we do it. I'm gonna get this figured out. Just a second. Done. I think we're good. Okay, I'm still going to talk from this phone for a minute because I'm afraid the other one is going to die on me at any point in time. But yeah, no, it's good to have you guys back up here. I apologize for how late we're doing this one, but so we're really going to do two this week. We're going to do episode 22 and then 23, which 23 I'll actually, man, it's crazy. I've had a trip every single weekend since the end of June. And I've got another one coming up this weekend, but the one this weekend that I've got coming up, I'm not leaving until a little later on Friday. I think like until 1 p.m. So I can sneak it in right before I end up taking off and hitting the road. Thankfully, it's one of those where everybody else has jobs and they're not going to be able to make it out until later in the evening. So I, I'm flexible. I can do whatever. And won't have to drive until later in the afternoon because they're lame and couldn't take Friday off. But anyway, we're back. We're back again for another episode, week number 22. It's been crazy. Coming up, which crazy to think about. Obviously, Wonky Stonks have been around a lot longer than half a year now, but it's coming up on 6 months of these spaces, which is really, really cool. It's been fun to watch the progression of everything, fun to watch that come up. So appreciate all of you guys that have listened, all the people that have been around from the beginning, and all the people that have, started to trickle in and find out about us recently also. Like Rooster's one of our mainstays. I appreciate having him up here, man. Like him, we've got 80s as another mainstay, which I actually just heard from 80s the other day. I don't know if y'all did it or not. He DM'd me and he said he's thriving in Peru. He's going to extend the trip a little bit longer, which I love for him. And yeah, man, I'm just excited for him getting to recharge, come back, and see what's going on past then. But catch me up. Did I miss anything this last? I was pretty out of pocket, Rooster, or anybody else that's up here. Did I miss anything this past weekend as far as movement in the NFT space?
I honestly, I don't really think so. I think it was a pretty tame, boring weekend. Granted, I wasn't watching, terribly closely as well. I was a little busy this weekend, but yeah, I don't think anything major development has happened except for the Izu Twitter got hacked this morning. So, I mean, everyone has tweeted, not to mint and everything. So just be wary of that. Most projects will not be doing a surprise mint or a stealth mint, especially if they're building whitelist spots. So yeah, just stay aware, be observant, I guess.
Yeah, no, I saw that, man. Okay, dude, this will tell you how ignorant I am and how much more reading I need to do on PA, especially after entering with those two Genesis PAs over the last couple of weeks. Is what is the affiliation of Izu with Psychedelics Anonymous? Is it their metaverse type of play, or is it something that's completely separate that just
It's
has some synergies?
it's separate, but it's their sister project. So, I mean, they haven't released a bunch of information about it, but it is affiliated. It is their sister project. They're going for a completely different art vibe. I don't know if you saw any of the sneak peeks of it. Um, some people will like it, some people won't. But yeah, they haven't released too much information, but it is their sister project.
10-4, man. So, sister, probably, dude, I hate hearing that stuff because it really has been recently. There have been a lot of, I feel like, compromises across the NFT space, more specifically, as far as any type of mints and that type of stuff are concerned. Like we saw Keyboard Monkey's account compromised recently. And I know he straddles both spaces, but he really made his name more so on the NFT side of things. And I know there are several other high profile accounts. They've slowly gone down the list of it. And it just kind of is one of those things that baffles me that, we're continued to see this. And the sad thing is, it's like, with the Izu whitelist, for instance, there have been clear cut announcements that Mint's not coming for a while, clear signs that what they posted on there, because I did see that earlier, the Izu thing, they posted something about how, it was a free mint for whatever for the private, and then, 0.08 for the public mint, which that just doesn't make sense. That doesn't line up with anything that they'd communicated previously about that. So, like, anybody that takes that bait and follows through with that, they're doing something that, they're just not using their brain. Like, it's unfortunate that it's happening, but we've seen enough of a trend of this happening recently that I think the average consumer, the average investor, just needs to be a little bit more cautious entering into a lot of these things as well, right?
No, yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, it's not like any of these are the first time, we're seeing any of this happen, right? Like it's almost common space. And, especially there is one thing I forgot. There was a project that minted over the weekend called Sea Raiders, and it was a wallet drain. And it was pretty easy to tell if you just clicked over on the meta or on the, where you interact with the contract, you would see that it was a set approval for all of your NFTs. And people just won't make the extra steps to check that before, blindly minting a stealth drop free mint or whatever it is, because as sad as it is commonplace for there to be scams pretty much every single day now.
No, it's every single day. And, it's died down slightly, right? Because there has been, and I feel like that's one thing as far as news recently in the market is keeping track of it and, looking through OpenSea, you can see not just a degradation of volume, but, there have been, we kind of, I feel like, had a little bit of a surge in some blue chips earlier in July. And I feel like that's kind of unwinding a little bit. I don't want to say fully. I don't even know if unwinding is the right word, but it feels like a little bit more fear is slowly starting to creep into the market again. And, that's being reflected not just with volume, with people's hesitancy to be able to scoop up some of these dips, but you are seeing that reflected across some of the floors of some of these bigger names that did have some momentum prior.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but I don't know about the scams slowing down. Um, Honestly, in my personal observation, it almost has seemed as they have, at least plateaued or maybe even ramped up a little bit. I mean, every single day, just looking on uh, IC tools or any other analytics site, it's always filled with complete garbage. I mean, even back we were just discussing this in room 110 the other day that back in January like even the not so well thought out projects would still stay on icy tools for like 2 to 3 days if they gain momentum. Like the larva dudes, pumped from like zero point zero 0.03 to 0.24, alien friends, stuff like that would actually hold momentum for a much larger amount of time. And you look on icy tools nowadays, something maybe top selling for an hour or two, have like 2,000 sales, and then after the third hour just completely drop off.
Yeah, 100%, man. And MD, I don't know if you were trying to speak there, man. I heard a little bit of reverb over your mic. If you want to go ahead and speak now, feel free to. I just wanted to mute your mic before you realized that. Just a heads up. But yeah, man, you're right. Like as far as the momentum behind a lot of the scams, you're right. They're still rampant. And, I guess I don't know, man. Like it almost feels like right now, as far as the opportunities and the things that you're seeing across the feed, it feels like there are more scam type of things that are popping up than there are actual legitimate projects, which here's the only reason why I'm going to slow down and say that might be slightly healthy, because it's like obviously it's incredibly unhealthy. But what it is showing to me at this point is that, okay, the people that are building, the people that have released projects that they care about, they either A, have already released them, they're out there, they're doing stuff, they're working in the space, right? Or B, right now they've slowed the pace of it to reflect where we are with the market, because I really feel like a lot of what happened within the last year, people got flooded with so much for so long that there really is just a general capacity for how much can people truly invest in, believe in, support, be able to manage, and be able to take on a new load at the same time. So I feel like we've gone through that rapid growth phase of the first bull run in the NFT market. And what we're going to see here now over the next couple of years isn't necessarily these projects that are legitimate ramping off left and right in the same way, the same popularity that they did before. But I think it's going to be a consolidation to projects that have shown viability, that have been healthy, and that are going to continue to thrive down the road.
Yeah, it's going to be the projects that show resilience regardless of market conditions, the one that keep building, they're going to prove that they are there to stay. And there'll still be an influx of other crap that still comes into the market, just trying to get any amount of penny from the consumers, right? Projects will release with a 0.007 mint, just hoping that people are going to buy it, right? Like, oh, what if this moons? But no, yeah, ultimately, it will be weeded down. There'll be a healthy cleanse, and I'm excited to see what that brings in the next bull run.
100%, man. And I think that's that for anybody listening here that's looking into anything, I think that's the real alpha leading forward from this is, focusing on where do you see that potential for, I guess, where have you seen accumulation in something, and then where can you invest in that you see that potentially being able to lead to something bigger down the road, rather than just necessarily chasing after each and every hype opportunity that comes out there. Because either one of two things is happening right now. Some of these hype opportunities are either A, just pure scams, B, they just don't have that immediate initial return that a lot of people became accustomed to during the heart of the bull run, whenever everything was just happening and it didn't matter what the hell you minted, like you were going to get a 10x right off the bat. Like it just isn't at that phase anymore of the market. So like smart money, I think, is going to be what takes over for this. And, unfortunately, there are going to be some casualties along the way where some of these scams, like what happened where the Izu whitelist, obviously Izu's not, scam. Izu's a legitimate project, but people are going to take over some of these accounts, still be able to release illegitimate things, and people are still going to fall for them out of the greed that they became accustomed to, that they need to immediately try to buy on the hype for anything. Like smart money is going to be what wins out.
Hey guys, I got like 5 minutes and then I gotta go back to work. I'll probably stay on and listen. One thing I wanted to bring up is I don't know if you guys saw, but Inverse Bra is doing a mint. and I know we were talking about kind of cash grab mints at 0.07, 0.08. His mint is 0.33 ETH in the midst of a bear market.
Wait, you're saying Inverse Bra is? Then Inverse Bra had to have gotten hacked.
I think it is. It was like Wassiverse. I'm pretty sure it's his project.
Okay. Gotcha. No, I thought you said like right now, especially after what we just talked about. I was like, damn, man, like if Inverse Fraud just tweeted about a mint out of nowhere right now, then like we're all fucked.
I think it's like 5 days from now, but I saw Toshi sent out a tweet like, go check it out. And I went and I checked it out, and I was expecting like free mint or 0.07, and it was 0.33, 12,000 supply. I was like, dear God.
And the thing is honestly, it will probably sell out, and it probably won't sustain that price for very long, and then people will be screaming that it was a rug pull or a scam. And but yeah, no, I don't like mint prices that are set astronomically high like that. Like 0.33 for a mint is kind of ridiculous, especially in this time.
I agree with that. The one thing that I will say as far as that is concerned, Inverse Bra is one of those guys I would not put out there and say, okay, like Inverse Bra is a scam. Inverse Bra obviously has a very reputable brand that he has built up organically, and a lot of people have attached to, I feel like, over the course of the past few years, right? And like, he has been a mainstay within the community. Well, what I will say, I'm going to support his mint because I do know what you're talking about. I'm going to do it, but I do agree with you that it's one of those that, that is a high, relatively for right now, a relatively higher price point. As far as ETH value is concerned, as far as USD value, it's not necessarily there, but that's the interesting thing to see. What I think will be interesting from that is, Inverse Bra being somebody that I do respect, and accounts that I know that I respect that are involved with that, like how far can that truly go in the course of a bull market? I mean, a bear market, right? So I think that it is one of those things that, and this is even me saying like I support it, still proceed with caution because you just don't know. Like I said, even the people that you respect and even the projects that you think have a legitimate roadmap and a chance of being able to do something, it's still difficult with a new mint going into it. So like still proceed with caution with it.
Yeah, and especially right now, but I think you are right that your two best arguments are that one, it's inverse, and then two, 0.33 ETH right now is not the same as it was when NFTs were booming.
100%, man. So, and I swapped over phones. I'm not sure. I'm just curious. Do you notice that like any drop off in quality in the audio at all? The difference between an iPhone X and an iPhone whatever Pro Max, whatever the newest one is.
I didn't notice it, but if I paid
really
attention, maybe.
There's a slight difference, but it's not anything major. And yeah, no, I wasn't trying to. I hope what I said wasn't getting misinterpreted. In no way was I trying to call, you know, Inverse's project a scam or anything. I was just saying that I haven't looked into the project. I don't know what it does bring you, but it just seems like a comparatively high point of entry compared to everything else that gets offered in the market at this time.
And I do agree that it feels like a higher level of entry for especially that supply, right? If there's a lower supply, I think it a little bit easier to sustain. I'm just wondering right now with a new project, where are you going to find 13,000 new people to be able to believe and to be able to sustain that regardless of what you're going to be building? So I don't know. I'm wishing them all the best of luck going into it, but I do agree with everything that y'all are saying that it's going to be difficult and that, I don't know. We'll see. It's not necessarily how I would have approached it, but I'm not going to sit there and say that I don't believe that it's going to be a rug whenever it is done. Right. Like, I think that them going into it, I would trust that they are actually going to work on building whatever they say. And I haven't done the research on it, but yeah, I mean, with anything, tread with caution, especially now. And it'll be a good one to revisit here, I think, in a few weeks. We'll have to note that down after they do it, just as far as like, the relative sample size of, okay, now that they've done that, what does that look like? And what does that really mean for some of these other mints that are coming up in the future? And like, if you're a project that has a legitimate plan, like, should you just hold off, even if it's, like, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, and I wasn't saying that they were going to rug. I was saying more along the lines of if it doesn't sustain the value that people bought in at, right? So let's say they gain some insane hype and it pumps to 2.5 ETH, and then 1,000 people buy it 2.5 ETH and drops back to like 0.6. People are going to start saying things regardless of what the team is doing, just because it's below where they bought in.
Well, another good example of that, just to continue talking through the space, like the pandas, dude. I love the pandas. I love ice bags. Love what they're working on with that. But even with that one right there, and they had some issues on the day of their mint that they struggled with. That I think really put a nail as far as, not a nail, but, really slowed down their progress on mint day. But they're doing a lot right now with their project. I know he's dumping a lot of his own money into this to be able to make it something that, he wants to be this exclusive, real experience. And they're still struggling, right? And when I say struggling, I mean, it's struggling to mint out. And, they've got an omni chain, this and that. And again, I believe that one day with what he's doing with it, that they will end up reaching capacity, that they'll mint out and they'll do something great. Right. But, it's one of those things that for some projects like that, you're going to have patience with to be able to get to that point, even if they are, legitimate from legitimate people doing legitimate things.
Yeah. And I think, Panda's biggest hurdle is because they are omni-chain. So the S chain is minted out completely. It's just that all the bridging you have to do to getting the native token over to the right chain, getting enough USD over to the right chain, then minting, then having to have enough leftover fees to bridge back. It is harder for the average user to do, especially if they've never worked across chain before. And it's just a bigger headache to try and get it back on the ETH chain to be able to view it in OpenSea and, list it for sale or whatever you wanted to do.
100%, man. So yeah, it is an interesting experiment going into that space. And, hey, especially if, even if only a fraction of those chains that they're minting out on continue to stay relevant and continue to build thriving ecosystems, I think there's a lot of, potential synergies and advantages that Omni-chain might be able to present. And, it'll be interesting to see kind of how that plays out. Like, it was a bold move, but something that, especially if you say that you are in this for the tech, like it's an interesting experiment.
Yeah, no, 100%. I am definitely excited to see what other utilities and innovation that Omni-chain can do, right? So you can bridge your pandas or bridge your NFT across any chain to get, or any available chains, to get other utilities that they may offer. And I think pandas are doing a nice job of setting themselves up in the position for when that does happen to be able to capitalize on it.
100%, man. By the way, Flip, welcome up to the stage. Glad to have you back up here again. How's it going, sir?
Hey, Cleo. It's good. How are you?
Doing well. Dude, you reminded me of something that, I wanted to shout out at the beginning of this because, I believe one of the things I think with, creating a healthy community within the NFT space is, collaboration, being able to collaborate and with other communities, grow yourself outside and not be so single-minded within anything. So quick shout out to Ledger Status, who I know right now they have a promotion that they have going on and I need to do that. It reminded me that I have not done it yet, where they're giving away a couple of pudgy penguins to people that use Flip XYZ in the same similar type manner to Gem and Genie, basically being able to use it as an aggregate to be able to buy or sweep any type. And it doesn't have to be pudgies, right? You can sweep the wonkies using Flip XYZ or sweep something else. And I'm not sure what the ETH limit is, but it's something to look into. I'll try to find that and pin it up there. But I really like Ledger, like what he's done in the space, like what they're building, and the opportunity to win a couple pudgy penguins. I mean, why not?
Ooh, thanks for the reminder. I actually still need to do that. I saw the two that they picked up. Actually, they're pretty good ones. So appreciate that. I just wanted to actually say something with what you guys were talking about as far as like projects that are just continuing to build during the bear market. And I think, I mean, you tweeted about this a couple of times, but it comes down to conviction, right? Like there, at some point, there was something or some things about that project that pulled you in and made you passionate about it. And you have to ask yourself during, the tough times, the bear markets, like, have any fundamentals changed about the project? And, if the answer is no, then it's like, why would you bail on that project now? Or why wouldn't you, you know, DCA further in, or DCA even for the first time since your initial buy? And it's, I don't know, like what you mentioned, people, they like to chase pumps or chase the next shiny thing that's in front of them, and they kind of forget about why they invested in these projects in the first place. So I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just you have to go back to the basics sometimes, right? And kind of check off the boxes on your list, and then make the decision whether to stay in the project or move on.
100%, man. Wani, what's going on?
Hi, man. Speaking of pudgy penguins, man, I've been trying to pick some up, but you've been taking all of them from what I'm seeing last week.
Yeah, man. Again, going back to looking at projects that have had resiliency throughout the course of the bear market, pudgies are one that, I've seen a lot of value in, and I see as far as the chart and the fundamentals that I think have potential to be able to drive to that next leg higher. So, it's one that I've started to slowly work my way in there, so we'll see, man. Like it's, talking about, and like, obviously, I pride myself on not diving just, I look for something that I believe in and have a higher level of conviction when I start to enter it and start to slowly, and that's one thing that you've seen with it. Like I've slowly averaged my way in, and, as long as it's in a range that I'm comfortable with, I'll continue to slowly average my way in. I respect the vibes of the cuteness of the penguins. So, it's one of those things where it'll be an experiment. We'll see. I think that it has potential, though, as far as looking at like that mid tier that, if it weren't for, and I say mid tier, obviously, because of the price level. I'm not talking about anything else as far as the quality, the community, the art, anything else, right? I'm just talking about price level. Where your blue chips, I feel like, are the ones that are the 20 ETH plus, whatever it is. In the mid tier, I feel like, you've got the couple ETH range where there are a lot of projects that have had hype, had volume before, but haven't necessarily made that jump to the next level yet. And this is one where I think the potential, it does have the potential to jump to that next level. So yeah, man, that's kind of been the thesis, slowly working my way into that. And, we'll see how it turns out. I think that, with enough patience and continued conviction, it'll play out.
What's going on, guys?
What's going on, Bog?
Not much. So yeah, one of my penguin friends sent me a message, and he was doing some digging. Apparently, someone funded a wallet, and he did some Sherlock Holmes stuff, and there's like there's like 100 million in it, and they funded another and he traced it all the way back up. It's like a fresh wallet. So there's a mega whale buying, like on a tiny wallet. I don't think it's Kaleo, because Kaleo's doing it from his main.
a mega whale buying penguins, or buying what?
Buying little pudgies. They did it this morning, but it was funded by a Soros wallet. So I don't know. It's something I got to check Nansen. I think my the trials kind of went out. But if anyone, I'll post the wallet, and if anyone wants to,
you said they started to buy a few this morning.
Yeah, they funded it only with 5 ETH, but if you take a look, the wallet that funded it had like 4 million, and then the wallet that funded that had 100 million, and it's not an exchange. So
it's interesting, man. It's really interesting. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, but yeah, stuff like that. And speaking of like buying dips and stuff, I really do think we might probably, it gets bumpy going into midterms. So I have like some money set aside to buy dips on projects projects I do like. So I'm definitely gonna easily get to triple digit wonkies if people keep paper handing. I'm definitely gonna buy more. I'll buy more little pudgies too at some point. I want to get to like, a couple hundred. I'm at like 150. I'll get to like 300-400, because I mean, every time we get into a space on the weekends, it's so bullish. Like yesterday, they were talking about the game that they're working on, and I just think it has that just, I don't know, something about it where it's gonna have that kind of like viral like thing like that Fortnite has. It's just something where people are gonna, because I know the team can execute. That's like one of the variables that I'm not really worried about. It's more so like, will people kind of vibe with it? And I think they will. Just so many people just kind of resonate with it, and no matter like what the market's doing, it's kind of wild. But yeah, like kind of don't worry about the scams right now. There's I'm not even worried about looking at mints right now, to be honest. Like there's no point. Like this isn't the time. There's so many. I see so many people too, like, doing like just they have poor like security and unfortunately losing their NFTs in their wallet. So you got to be extra careful. And if you are gonna mint anything, do it on like a burner wallet. Don't do it on your like a hot wallet with all your stuff in it. I don't know how people still like kind of have been in the space for a while and still doing it. It's kind of wild that that's happening. But I saw a couple penguins unfortunately get robbed. So be extra careful out there, especially if you're looking to make some quick money. It's definitely dicey out there.
Yeah, man. No, again, appreciate the reminder too that it is dicey right now. And I think everybody from what we're talking about on this so far basically has the same sentiment, where any type of mint right now, just proceed with caution. Because one, protecting your own security, your own assets, making sure that you aren't doing anything fishy that opens the door to be able to be scammed, to be able to be, hacked, lose whatever you have. Like, you don't want to do that, obviously. But then two, capital preservation in a bear market is key. Bear markets are about consolidation, looking for the higher conviction plays, and being able to carry forward with that. So, I mean, like I said, that's where I am with the little pudgies, and obviously that's where I am with the Wonky Stonks also, because it's my project. I believe in it. I believe in the vibes of being able to just slowly but consistently show up and build a community, and not have the roadmap, but be able to let the vibe of the community dictate where the project goes. And let it be one day the meme of owning the JPEG of a stonk being more valuable than and more coveted than owning any stonk itself. And my whole thing is that I believe with enough time and enough consistency, this space is so early, right? We're in the middle of a consolidation and bear market. We're here, we're thriving. It's not about, the money of what we're getting from any of this, because obviously, with it being a free mint, with it being something that, there are next to zero fees generated. It's like, we're here for the community. We're here because we believe in what this is and what it will be down the road. And, that's my whole vibe with all of it. And, being able to connect with other communities in the process is part of, I think, where you start to grow, grow yourself. And eventually, again, with enough time, there's going to be another cycle. And it won't be this year, maybe in the next 12 months, maybe the next 24 months, but where NFTs just, boom again, and where they do lead in the next bull market. And I think that, again, the projects and the communities that have the consistency throughout the bear market that are able to survive it are going to be the ones that lead their way into the next bull market. So see.
100%. No, I agree completely. And I think to a certain degree, floor price does matter. In the Wonky's case, it was a stealth mint. So that's really kind of like icing at the top of the cake. Like, you don't have to worry about it going below mint price, whatever the gas is paid. But even so, I would worry if you're like a builder, if you're, in charge of any project right now, just focus on keeping the community active for however long we are in the bear market. Because, the Wonkies, I have no doubt, like, you guys, all you have to do is literally survive now. You have like the lore, you have the people, a great community. You just literally have to survive. Just be active, stay around, keep other people engaged, and just shit post on Twitter. I mean, really, that's what you need to do for however long, it is. And, it's going to take off. Like, this is really, we're going through the first major cycle for NFTs. And if you've been around the block, like, you saw what happened with ICOs. I mean, obviously, it's a little bit, it's a little bit different, a little bit of the same too. You can't really make a direct comparison, but I don't think it's really apples and oranges. It's just one of those things where, the cream does rise to the top, and you have to look for just similar qualities of what like makes a project successful. And it is a meme. We're all bag holders now, but it really is the community. And that's really all that makes sense. That's the whole tangible value of this. There's a lot of intangibles with NFTs that, I'm an accountant. Like, that's the way I look at things. You can't really put a monetary value on the community, and I'm sure people are going to come up with metrics, and you could use Nansen to try to figure it out for yourself. But, I think it's one of those things where you just feel like, like when you're in a community, when you're just talking to these people and you see the activity and kind of what's going on behind the scenes, like you just kind of know it's a winner. But yeah.
Yeah, man. Like, there are things that Nansen can't track, right? There are intangibles. Like, obviously, I feel like they reached a certain threshold during the market where, the use of the word vibes became a meme. But, like, there really is something about the vibes within a community where there's something about the intangibles that, like, Nansen can't track as far as staying power and as far as, like, it's not just about staying power, but if you look at like what makes things successful, right? Like, it is the opportunity for virality at a certain point, right? And again, if you're wondering why initially, like, I dove into the pudgies as well, same type thing. Like, I saw enough voices that were active enough on my timeline, people that have been in the space that I believe will be people that are leading their way into the next bull market. Like, all these accounts that are here right now that have survived this pain and that survive the next couple of years, like, eventually all it takes is a spark. And that spark eventually has the opportunity to turn itself into a wildfire. Like, my account, for instance, throughout the course of the last bear market, I was stuck at 5,000 followers for the longest time. I had to grind to get to 5,000 followers. And then eventually, slowly trickled my way up to about 8,000, later on in 2021, or not 2021, 2019, because 2019, we had that little mini bull market where, BTC went up from 3 to 13K. It's funny, I say little mini, it did a 4X. And there were a lot of other shit coins that did something similar, though BTC was the primary catalyst of that run, right? And in that process, my account nearly doubled, and I thought it was legit that I got up to about 8,000. But point being, that was the scale of growth. And then you started to reach 2020. And 2020, one thing happens, you have a few tweets that go viral. You have friends that have those connections. You start to get people to notice you. And eventually, I went from 8,000 to I think 20,000 in a month after working my way up to 8,000 over years. And then you look at it, and just a slow progression of how crypto became more and more mainstream throughout the course of it. That is how the account that I have today reached where it is today, right? But I never would have assumed that it had that possibility and that potential. I believed, right? Like I believed that it could, and I believed that that voice could mean something and be able to resonate with people. But you never know. And, if you tell that to other people while you are stuck down there for years at that level, people will laugh, right? And like that is what I see right now with some of these projects and communities where, right now it is, where do people that have the potential to have those type of voices and those type of explosions, where are they right now in their journeys? And, are there people that, you could see potentially leading their way and having the type of explosion that I did in the next bull market? And like I do. So that's the whole thing. You look at that, you look at those projects, and that's where those are who the next wave of people are going to follow. And that's something important to keep tabs on.
Yeah, it's pretty rough right now. I'm getting like no engagement. Like I was trying to just test it out the other day, and I just started really shit posting as much as I possibly could in one day, and it's just completely dead. But that, how it changes. Everyone's like a fair weather person in crypto. Like once things start turning around, people will pile back in. But I don't know. We'll really see what happens. Like going into the midterms and whatnot. And if it does get a little bit worse, I'm prepared. But you'll I really just feel even more like comfortable now in some of at least the NFTs I hold, just because you kind of see like it is a stress test is what's happening. And I think at least most of my bags are doing pretty well. So there's that. It's really just a matter of when things turn around, and it's going to happen so fast. Like I was saying, like it really, I just it'll be once the switch like flips. I mean, it'll probably be a slow grind up, but then you're going to see that euphoria again with NFTs. There's just really kind of no way. Just because if you go on YouTube, just search like some of the comments. I think there was like some guy did a video about like the Ape Fest thing, and you should see what normies are saying. Like the more hate it gets, the more bullish I get. In like 2018, I remember like if you watch TV, like everyone was making fun of it. Everyone probably that you were friends with, your family, was just shitting on crypto, and then they just kind of just ate it. Like when it came to like that last bull run we had. So I just kind of see a similar thing happening whenever. I'm not going to give a time period, but it probably will happen at some point.
Yeah, what do y'all know about GameStop NFTs? I'm just curious, man. I've seen like people post recently about how it's already done multiples and multiples, like in the first week, compared to what Coinbase has done their entire existence. So I'm just curious, like, actually, heck, I'm going to just go to their website right now. Is it just an ETH marketplace? Because that's what I see right now on their statistics board for their total volume over the last 24 hours it's all listed in ETH. Is it a pure ETH play? I thought I heard something about them potentially listing on Matic or something else, but yeah, does anybody have any better idea?
Well, I know that they teamed up with Immutable to launch their NFT marketplace, and yeah, one of my close friends, he drinks the GME Kool-Aid, so to speak. But he's probably told me like I swear like every conversation cannot be complete, every interaction cannot be complete without some mention of GME. But you know what? It came out, and then within like less than 48 hours, it outdid the lifetime volume of Coinbase NFT. So, I mean that there has to be something there, and it's one of those where it's like, hey, if they're gonna push something that can benefit the space as a whole, I mean, we should all be supportive of that. But yeah, it's like maybe I should be looking into this right now. So I'm glad that you brought that up, Cleo.
Yeah, because just and I'm on the website scanning through it a little bit more. Like I said, everything is in ETH. It says connect your Ethereum wallet, go to your profile, blah, blah, blah. Select an NFT you want to sell, click actions, manage, list for sale, input the price in ETH that you want so it's just, okay, there is a marketplace fee which goes to GameStop and potentially a creator royalty fee. So they're still doing, royalty fees. They're still doing, it seems like similar structure to OpenSea, looks rare, etc. Same type structure for that. Then your NFT is now for sale on the marketplace. Okay, so where was I looking at? Oh yeah, the layer 2 part. I read the wrong thing. Okay, importantly, layer 2 derives its security from the base network like Ethereum. Currently, GameStop NFT supports Loopring L2 and will support Immutable XL2 in the near future. So what I'm curious on is like looking at the stats, these are all NFTs that look like they're specific just to GameStop, right? Like I'm not seeing any of these GameStop NFTs on the leaderboard on the OpenSea leaderboard. So I'm wondering what the heck is going on. Like, are they still listed there? Is it something where this is just listed like basically kind of like in a centralized exchange type manner? And that like I don't know.
Do we know if it's like wash trading too, or is it like legit volume?
Well, okay, so that's part of my question as far as the L2 stuff is concerned too, right? So if it's operating, or say that it's even ETH, but like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if they have these as centralized wallets or if these collections are actually available outside of.
It says currently only NFTs that were minted on GameStop NFT are able to be traded on the platform.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I mean, that's what I assumed looking at it, because I'm not seeing, and that's kind of what I'm curious about too, as far as what chain and everything else that it's actually on, because you would assume that even if they're like most likely what they're doing then, what I'm guessing to be able to cut down on costs, they're minting on some L2. They are, sending it. They're doing something to be able to isolate the NFT to them to make it more difficult to be able to move it off their exchange onto another exchange. That's what it has to be. So if that's the case, then I'm curious about their longer term durability, because I think that you want to be able to expose these collections to the largest number of buyers that you possibly can and not just filter to one subset. But maybe I'm wrong. All right, you know what I'm going to I'm going to do this research for y'all, so the next time I talk about this, I don't look like such a jackass. And, like, I actually have an idea. I was really hoping that one of y'all were going to come up here and just be an expert on game. If anybody is more of an expert on what they're doing, I'm really curious. So feel free to invite yourself, because it feels like that's one of the few outliers as far as mints that are doing decently well with exchange volume, etc. And it's a newer thing, and it's interesting. Like you said, Flip, I feel like a lot of people, they're just, like the GameStop crew, or like they're the CrossFit crew of stocks. Like they have to let people know GameStop and AMC.
Maybe this changes once they migrate to Immutable, because right now they're using Loopring, and if you see on their website Immutable X coming soon, then they list all of the big projects that are on Immutable X, like Illuvium, Gods Unchained. So I think this is considered their beta. So I think this scales up for them once they migrate to Illuvium, and I mean there is a grant program up top, so that's probably worth reading into. I'll probably read into that right now.
Therefore, it'll be interesting to see, man. Rooster, I don't know if you're in the middle of your tourney or not.
Yeah, man, I just lost to some bullshit.
I was about to ask how it's going.
It was going really well, and then I get dealt pocket queens, and Dylan gets dealt pocket kings. So I'm not sure I like their new platform too much.
Oh man, that's tough.
Yeah, I lost to a cooler. So yeah, I'm out now.
I was going to ask, were you all in?
Yeah, I went all in. I was a little bit tilted because I lost to a cooler on the previous bet, outkicked, and I was like, okay, give me something good. I get dealt pocket queen, so I was like, oh, cool. So I raised, and then I get re-raised, and I was like, all right, my time to shove. And then he calls me and flips kings. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, bro.
Oh my goodness, man. That is I've been there before. Basically, like I learned poker is not my strong suit. Like I've not put enough time into the craft to be able to get to where I need to be about like the smartest move. I've never studied it. So it's just one of those things like if I play any, like say if I go to Vegas or something else, at least this is what I used to do. I haven't been to Vegas in so long because like any money I set a specific amount and I say if I lose that, like I am done. And I typically lose it all within like an hour. So then everybody else is still playing and I've got nothing left to play. And I'm like, well, shoot, like, okay, what is next? And I'm not enough of a degenerate to, go to any of these other places or do things by myself while the buddies are playing poker. So it's like, well, it just kind of fizzles out pretty quickly for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I play a little bit looser in these tournaments, obviously, just because it's free to enter, right? So the only cost to me is my time. So I play a little bit looser, especially in the beginning, but I typically make final table. And honestly, I much prefer losing to a cooler like that early in the tournament when I'm only 30 minutes in rather than being 2 hours in and something like that happens.
Bro, when
So
you say a cooler, am I missing a poker term here, or is a cooler literally like it's a guy with a PFP of a cooler?
no, it's literally it's a poker term. It's like when theoretically you should have the best hand pre-flop, right? Like the odds of someone having kings or aces are, while I have queens, are just astronomically small. So theoretically, you should have the best percentage of winning. And then as soon as our cards flip, he already had me beat before the board even came out. So that's like what a cooler is.
Yeah, man. See, like that's why I don't play. I don't even know that. Like it's
Yeah, well, I
terrible.
mean, you don't have
It,
to.
it it'd be like if I go to a soccer game in Europe, and first off, like I'd be calling it soccer, I'd get shit for that. And second off, like I know the objective of the game pretty well. Like you're trying to get the ball into the goal, and like it's worth 1 point. And I know like about offsides, I guess, mostly, and then that, or actually, and that's about it. So like I know a little bit, like I could go out there and maybe play it a little bit and have some fun, but like anybody that has any certain level of skill is going to kick my ass like with long enough period of time.
Yeah, yeah, no, I do enjoy it. I need to make it out to a casino around me, see what the live tables are like here, because I haven't played live since I've been in Texas. And I did extremely well in 2021. Off my buy-in, I think I ended up that year profiting like 35K just off of $300 to start with. Um, so it definitely did get my interest up in poker. And been playing with the pandas recently, so it's been making me feel good. Been learning a little bit more just through experience. I haven't bothered to look into any like theory yet, and I think that once I do, it'll just make me that much of a better player.
So you're still just all intuition, all gut right now. Hey, did they ever say how Luke Martin or the other guy they had entered for the World Series of Poker ended up doing?
No, actually, I'll ask them right now. I
I,
was thinking
I,
about that the other day.
I gotta ask Luke then. Like I'm supposed to, dude. I say this. I've supposed to have been on his podcast. I'm supposed to like make an appearance for the past like year and a half, and I've still never arranged it. But like I DM'd him this last week. I was like, okay, we're gonna make it happen soon, and I'm definitely gonna ask him about his experience going into that also when I do it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I didn't even play in the tournament, the satellite, to get that spot. I didn't have a panda at that time, and I think it was like their first poker tournament. Uh, Actually, one of our community members, Magna, he was about to send me his panda just so I could register and for the tournament, but we didn't end up getting that done in time. So I ended up missing it. But that would have been crazy if would end up winning that and got sent to the World Series of Poker. I definitely would have tried to place, brought that back home to the Stonks.
Yeah, man. And see, and that's probably, like I said, if I'm that clueless on it, that's a good reason why I haven't set it up so far for the Stonks yet for what the best way of being able to do it is. I mean, dude, if you've got a good idea for how you want to make that happen, like I'd be happy to help work with you on that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was actually just talking about this in general chat with someone yesterday. It's really easy to set it up and get it going for holders only. I mean, the easiest way to do it would just be to drop it into a holders only channel and then just hope that people aren't leaking the link to other people. But I can also manually accept people as well. So if you wanted to be accepted into the tournament, you just have to respond like in the Discord with what your tag in the tournament is. So it won't be hard to set up. The biggest issue we're facing is deciding on a time that will be best for most people. And that is, I guess we just need to do like a poll or something. Maybe, actually, that's a good idea. You should tweet out on your Kaleo account that you're going to do a holders only wonky poker and then like make a poll for like weekday around noon or 1 EST to try and get in, accommodate your people as well. And weekend, noon to 1, or yeah, the other way around, weekday in the evening, like 5 p.m. or something, EST. And then same thing for the weekend and see what the poll says. But
I'm down, man. I'm down. We can get that because, I mean, it is a good question. It's funny. Like I just looked at the chat and King J said 4 a.m. here in Asia, finally woken up in time to make a Twitter space. But to be fair toward anybody that is, living in Asia right now and is a listener and is part of this, I've done several polls about where do you live to people that are my followers. And I've tried them multiple times during the day. Like, that time zone is the most underrepresented time zone out of anybody. So to be able to make it to the most people for as far as live viewership and everything else and engagement during that, it's got to be somewhere around kind of this like noon Eastern time pocket, a little bit later, a little bit earlier, because that kind of fits as many of the people that you can as possible that are going to be awake. You're getting everywhere North, South America covered. You're getting,
right.
you're getting Europe covered. And then you've got the fringes of everywhere else, right? Like, I still think that it's not quite bedtime in Dubai yet, especially for the degenerates that are involved here. You're just missing like Central Asia, which officially, like, I don't even know whether Central China and that area can necessarily. Yeah, I know they still trade degenerately, but like I know it's just an underrepresented portion of this community. So, they still have the recordings available, but that's kind of how I typically choose the time zone that I do these spaces.
Right, and that's what I was thinking as well. Like the best time for everyone should be around like noon to 1 EST. But then again, the person I was talking to was like, that's not the best time for me. And so I don't know if it was just that day. So maybe actually the best way to do it is probably to open a poll in Discord in a holders only channel, and then have them tweet out to have them come into the Discord and vote on a day, maybe, and a time, or we pick the time like around noon or 1 p.m. EST and just have them vote on a day. And that'll be the best way to be able to make people aware of it is if, honestly, I think we decide it for them and then just make an announcement on Twitter and Discord so that everybody knows so that they can show up.
I was gonna say, we have a couple of the Pudgy mods in here, and we usually do like a combined community poker tournament. I think it's usually kind of like on the weekend, Saturday. I forgot the time, but yeah, if you get like a gigantic like inter-community poker tournament going on, that'd be sick.
So I know at least for the tournament we're talking about, the initial idea. So Kaleo said he was willing to throw up like 5 to 10 stonks
Man,
for the
I'll give up
winners.
even more than whatever we need to end up doing to make this work out. I'll give whatever I have to with it. So we'll see.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the idea was to make it holders only for the stonks to be able to be entered into that prize pool. I don't know if you guys had like some little pudgies if you wanted to throw in as well to do like a collab space, just to give people of the community like a chance to gain stonks outside of spaces or something. Just a fun little interactive game.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they could work it out. I don't want to speak for him, but I don't see a problem.
Right.
Yeah. So if anybody's listening and wants to make that happen, I'm always down. Yeah, I mean, like I love doing that type of stuff. It's fun. I mean, but going back to it, the most difficult part during summer, especially, I feel like, is you've got people either that are working jobs during the week, and like it's easy as far as listening because a lot of people that are listening to a space like they're just tuning in while they're working. Nobody's really paying attention to them doing that anyway. But when you're doing a poker tournament, what becomes a little bit more difficult is you're balancing either people are traveling on the weekends and it's difficult to make it work, or B, they are doing a job and they can't just listen. They have to actively be engaged in it. So, that'll be the interesting thing is just, okay, what time does end up working the best for the most degens to be able to step away and make that happen? But yeah, we'll see, man. We'll get something. I swear, one of these days we'll get it figured out, Rooster. But yeah, man. One of the things that we talked about at the beginning of this space that I think a little bit important to touch on right now is going back to it. That especially the past few days, we had about a couple of weeks where we got a breather, or we finally saw some green price action, some bounces. And the past week now, nearly, let's see, dating back to the 20th, so 5 days, we've seen a lot more, heavily red across the board than we have green. And you notice that directly, like Bogfather, you brought it up as far as engagement, like you notice on every level, even you've got an account my size, you're going to notice the difference in the drop off of engagement for stuff that, like they're just the number of users that have been here and that are here right now are not necessarily what they were back in the day. And that's part of the attrition of a market like this. So be interesting. I still believe in what I said before, where the real pain from here is more sideways, not necessarily more down. I hope I'm right with that, because more down would be really painful as far as BTC is concerned. But I really do believe that, where BTC won't go too much lower than the levels that we really saw previously. Like, could it still wick down to that 16K area? Sure, but I really just don't see it. The full level of FUD that's out there on the timeline that believes that, man, this is just going to zero at this point. Like, I'm a believer that there is something bigger here happening. So, it's just even the past few days, it's been interesting to see just kind of the morale on the timeline start to shift, where I feel like it's a completely different place today than it was just like 4 or 5 days ago. Anton, what's going on, man?
Hello. I just want to say why we should not see a bit more down, because we will have the opportunity to buy more, so it won't be so negative. And I would like as well to ask what you guys think about the Fed tomorrow. How it's going to be. A red or green candle tomorrow?
Oh, man, about the Fed, Fed on an NFT space is pretty deep, but I will, we'll see, man. I'm hoping that it surprises everybody and we see some green, but You know, again, my biggest thing is, dude, I'm ready for volatility either direction, regardless of what it is. Just continue to stack on high conviction plays is where I am right now in this market.
Yeah, 100%, man. Because I distinctly remember everyone telling me on Spaces a few weeks ago, not to sell my car at 1100 ETH, and I just now started getting some extra spare dollars to be able to start going back into crypto, and my sweet spot of entry has disappeared.
I mean, you never know, man. It can still come back. That's the whole thing, is looking at it from, the investing or the trading perspective. If you're talking about from the trading perspective, then yeah, obviously you're going to get a lot of the, intraday, intra-month volatility. But, from as far as the stacking perspective, yeah, I feel like we'll have a good amount of time in this range over the next 6 months to be able to continue to accumulate.
I was promised a multi-year bear market, and damn it, I better get it.
I love somebody that I love having somebody have that mindset. Like, Anton, what's up, man?
If I may say, he said that he hasn't sold his car yet. I have sold my soul here, man, and waiting the opportunity to buy everything. So hopefully, I am not a bear person. I really hate because everything is going down, so it's not a good time. But if it goes a bit lower, then it will be good for us that we are still here and waiting to buy more. So I don't see it in such a negative way. NFTs, crypto, whatever. So I don't know. I I'm afraid that with the recession now and all the situation that is around the world, not only in US or Europe, but I'm afraid that we will see lower prices. But as I said again, it won't be a bad thing for me, for example, because I've been like uh, getting cash from everywhere where I can, so I can see an opportunity and jump in with BDC and ETH. So I don't know. I hope it goes just a bit lower and then up to the sky.
You don't have to worry about a recession anymore because they're redefining a recession, and then you're not going to have to worry about a war because they're probably going to redefine the definition of war too, and then they're going to probably redefine the war, apocalypse. So you're not going to have to worry about that. So
And
yeah,
don't worry about Social Security either.
If I don't have to worry about all these things, then what should I be worried then, guys?
you will own nothing and you'll be happy. Duh.
Oh, I have heard this.
No,
but
you don't. The
it's
new
not
worry
funny,
is
this, guys.
monkeypox.
Really, it's not funny that you will be happy and own nothing doesn't make sense. And hopefully it never comes true, because if it comes true, we are all screwed. Doesn't matter where we are living in this world, but we are all screwed. So
I'm opening a cricket restaurant. I'm going to be the first person. I'm jumping ahead. Just maybe just a bug restaurant in general, not just crickets. We got to.
if you need people to work, I will join straight away.
Yeah, I don't know if you're French, dude, but I need a French sous chef that's proficient at cooking.
I learned very fast, so
Specializes
don't
in
worry.
crickets.
With few videos, I will learn, and I will be the best of the best.
Khalil, I have a quick, completely unrelated question to ask you. What are your thoughts on kolaches, man?
Oh, I love a good kolache. Too much is the issue. Too much.
Right?
Yeah, way too much. Like, bro, I have had multiple days, and I'm not just saying this, multiple days where I'll like go and buy a bunch of kolaches, expecting that to be my breakfast for the next few days at the house. And then I'll have the kolaches for breakfast, lunch, and
All
dinner.
day. Yeah.
And I'm not even joking. Like, I've done that multiple times, and it just happens. And the heartburn, I can always tell that night and the next morning that I did do that when I do it. But yeah, like the kolaches are something that, like, as long as you find a good spot, they're solid.
Right. So here's the thing. I found out recently, after craving kolaches, that there is not one kolache shop in the Denver area So if you want to open a Wonky Stonks kolache shop in Denver, just hit me in the DMs, man.
Well, maybe that's what. Maybe we need to make a Wonky Stonk derivative that's a kolache derivative project, and then look into it.
Yeah, I'm down because that has been something I've honestly seriously been considering recently. Is because who doesn't love a good kolache? And then there's no market competition at this point in time in my area, so I'm gonna start looking into opening up a kolache shop over here.
And I'll say this, man. I know, like, Denver has a lot of people from out of state live there right
Yep,
now, right? That are
moving in. A
used
lot
to
of
and
Texans
accustomed
are
to
coming.
kolaches. So there's there's your
Exactly.
$1 million idea right there, Rooster.
Oh, that's just one of them. That's that's just one of them. One of the
Well, you
million
think
dollar ideas.
you think you're joking with that. I had a buddy that told me
I'm
his
not
friend,
joking with it. I'm being 100% serious.
like, yeah, no, I'm being serious too. Where, like, I had a buddy that he had a friend moved to one of the small Colorado mountain towns before it boomed, right? Before the big recent boom, like years, probably a decade ago. And he started up a tanning business because there wasn't a tanning like salon in that area. And he just absolutely murdered it just by like buying a little storefront, having a tanning and like, apparently it was a necessity there even throughout the winter, throughout the summer, throughout any time of year. Apparently a tanning business prints money, and he absolutely killed it. But he did exactly what you did, where he looked at like a need for something that is just something a lot of people may not think about, but then they do it and then they absolutely kill it as soon as it's done.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I got inspired because one of my boys actually just opened up his second kolache factory in Houston, and it's been doing pretty well with the franchise. So then that's what got me thinking about kolaches, and I was like, damn, I want to get a kolache. And so I opened up maps, typed in kolache, not a single thing popped up, and I was like, this is interesting. Looked a little bit harder. No, they're all about breakfast bagels, which I really like breakfast bagels, but you know, we
All
have to
right,
have
I'm
the
out
access
of the
to the
loop.
kolache.
What's a kolache?
Oh,
I'm
here we go. So kolache is like a doughy bread, right? Kind of like a croissant, but a little more doughy. Very delicious. I don't know the scientific or whatever the
It's like a
culinary
dinner
bread
roll that's
term.
hollow, like a good
Yeah, a
fluffy
good
dinner
dinner roll.
roll that's hollow, that is filled with, like meats, cheeses. I mean, heck, there are kolaches that are a little bit more pastry like, that are filled with, I guess more dessert type filling as well. I think that's, my favorite are the savory kolaches that have like, ham and Swiss or brisket and egg, or, bacon, egg, cheese,
Yeah,
bacon, egg,
biscuits and
sausage, biscuits and
gravy and
gravy.
sausage.
You can go down the list. People will put literally anything in bread and sell it, call it a kolache, and, that they're amazing.
Jalapeno sausage and cheese kolaches are where it's at. My
That
personal
sounds
favorite.
fire. I can't
Yeah.
believe like I moved from New York. I'm in Chicago now, but I can't believe I haven't heard about that before. Like there's two
See?
major two towns.
It's
I
more of
don't
a
know.
southern thing, man, because I used to live further north than where I do now. And like, even where I was from, like, all the pigs in a blanket was the closest thing you could get, which a pig in a blanket is just like sausage, a little mini sausage wrapped with the croissant type bread. And whenever I heard the definition kolache, I was like, what the heck is that? So I was there at one point also. And then once you open your eyes to it, it's a game changer.
Yeah. Kolache is like the peak of the savory breakfast. Like when you grow up in the South and you're getting donuts from the donut shop as a kid, you get the donuts, right? Once you start getting into those middle teenage years, then you graduate to kolaches and realize that, you don't want as many sweet things for breakfast. And then by your 20s, you pretty much don't get donuts from the donut shop anymore. It's straight kolaches.
Yeah, like if you're going to be unhealthy, you go for the savory unhealthy versus like the pure sugar.
Yep.
So that's interesting, man. You'll have to keep me posted on that.
Yeah,
I'll have to
sorry for
look
the
for it.
derail. Just a little sidebar.
It's got to have rooster in the name. By the way, man, it's too perfect. Rooster plus breakfast. It's meant to be.
There's
I
like
bet there could be a bunch of memes out of that.
Dude, that's how. Go ahead, Bog.
I was gonna say there's probably someone like in the space right now that's like trying to make a like a cash grab project.
Yeah,
Like
trying to
crazy
front run you right
collages
now.
or something. Like,
Dude, that's
trying to front run.
That same type of sign. Like I felt that the other day. I was leaving Austin, and before we left, we had time to go grab brunch. We went to this place called Kirby Lane Cafe. And at Kirby Lane Cafe, like the hostess stand had multiple penguins that were sitting up there on the hostess stand. I was like, man, that's a sign.
I was like in a work meeting and like this girl just like she's like, yeah, what's that? Like she had some like art in the background, and she's like, yeah, I just went to the zoo and like I bought this like painting of that penguins just like kind of like did with their feet, like they just kind of walked over a canvas and they painted something. I'm like, really? I'm like, how much is that worth? I want to buy that off you. I'm a connoisseur of penguin art. And she was like, are you like, why would you want to buy this? I'm like, it's too long of a story.
That's hilarious. But dude, now I'm getting tagged in so like Snake Child just tagged me talking about kolaches. You didn't spell it right, first off. He said the Hungarian swirling cinnamon bread is the closest thing that he can think of, which, dude, that does look freaking amazing. I love bread. Like, bread is an addiction, so I will have to try that out. But no, that is not considered a kolache.
Okay, I just found out that there's a kolache factory 10 minutes from my house. So I will be going there later today.
Is that like the
So
Cheesecake Factory? Like the cheese, it's just the kolache
no,
factory?
it's like a donut shop, but you gotta be aware. Kolache Factory, yes, they have good kolaches. Are they close to my favorite kolaches? No, they're not like your little mom and pop shop kolache factories. Those are where you get the real bangers. But Kolache Factory is an okay place to start. They have more of a different style with a thinner bread, more filling. They do like eggs and stuff in their kolaches too. I'm not a big fan of egg in my kolache, but yeah, just wanted to give you that heads up. You have many
Sounds
choices.
like it's meant to be, Flip. I mean, you've got multiple things, multiple action items from today's space. You've got, let's see, you're going to do the Flip XYZ. Enter in for the Pudgy contest there. You're going to do the GameStop, the GME NFT marketplace research, and now you're also going to go and you're going to try out kolaches. Like, you've got a busy slate leading from this combo.
It all starts with your space.
That's it. So if anybody else wants enlightenment, you come up here and you speak, and you eventually figure out what you need to do in life. Like, you're sitting there, you're kind of curious, what's going on, what you need to learn more about, and you start to realize things that you may have never even heard before. Like Flip with the Kolache Factory, he is going to go chase after that. He's going to seek it out. It's going to literally change his life.
A kolache is like a core choice in your breakfast options, right? You don't really get too many options for breakfast, and Kolache Factory is just one of those pillars that or not Kolache Factory, but kolaches are just one of those pillars that you can always fall back onto when you don't know what to do for breakfast.
How much better are kolaches and biscuits and gravy?
Well, why don't you just get a kolache that has biscuits and gravy inside
Yeah,
of
I
it?
was about to say you can get a kolache with sausage and gravy inside the kolache, and those smack.
That's very meta.
So, yeah, you can literally get anything. I don't know. Anyway, it's funny. Like, I'm surprised we still have nearly 100 people listening. I think we lost 20 people going into the kolache conversation, but I don't care. Like, that is alpha that needs to be explored.
Yeah, guys, we're in a bear market. There's nothing else to do. It's better. I'd rather talk about kolaches than like trade chop and get wrecked.
Excuse me, if I may say, something. We have lost the point of the conversation. Here it says NFTs, Wonky Weekly, and so on and so forth, and we are talking about food. So,
well, Anton, as the moderator of this conversation, I let the conversation shift directions toward pure alpha. If alpha is extracted out of diets and out of, what can bring joy to a person's soul, and kolaches are something that not only are they amazing, they can bring joy to the soul. So if you're talking about joy to the soul, that is something that I will gladly sit there and share, not with just the people on stage, but the people that are in the audience as well. I want them to be revitalized in the midst of something they might see depths of despair, the depths of the hurt and the pain of the bear market. Kolaches are going to be what helps save us, along with the Wonky Stonks and, the Pudgies as well. And give a shout out to my PA family as well while we're at it. But, kolaches leading the way that tie us all together. That is the gospel that we needed to hear today.
Yeah, we got.
I'm sorry if I
Luca.
upset you. I didn't. My intention was not to upset you, man.
I'm just messing with you, man. I'm just messing with you.
Dude, at the next Pudgy event, I'm gonna tell Luca we want penguin kolaches. We want like penguins on the kolaches. Can we do that? Is Burko? We lost agents and Burko. We lost both mods.
Yeah, the kolaches may have been a little bit too much for them, but again, that's why we're still so early.
They weren't prepared for the true alpha, to be honest. Weren't ready to hear it yet.
Hey, all I'm saying is also since the beginning of this space, again, something that typically happens during these spaces, price looked like it was selling off mid-space, but man, it is bouncing back. It is bouncing back hard and heavy while we were talking. All hope is not lost quite yet. Dude, I just really am excited for the day that we do see expansion of one of these projects that, I'll say another one that looks like the Pudgy floor to me that I haven't bought into yet, just because I feel like I'm slightly late, but then I feel like usually that means I'm going to regret it. But the Dick Butts, man, have had incredible strength and their chart looks solid right now leading up to it. And I know just because of the fact that I haven't bought one yet, that I know that it's going to explode too. I just have that feeling. And how funny is it, Dick Butt's about to explode, but that's going to be what happens leading into it.
What are they sitting at right now?
Let me check real quick. I think around 2.2 or something.
What do you think about TA with NFTs? How much of a meme is it?
Bro, I've been thinking about this, and this is something, man, corn, we're squeezing higher right now. I'm curious whether or not, saying that. I'm sorry, I'm watching the charts as I'm responding to this, but I think that it's something, Anton, give me just a second. TA, as far as the NFT charts, I feel like there's an underrated meme right now where it's something that deserves to be discussed more, that I think that if you really start to think about what is TA, right? Technical analysis is studying human emotion at the heart of it and extracting some type of alpha from human emotion. And can you create charts with NFT floor prices, et cetera, the average sales price, which is, what these charts are based on? Yes, I think you can. Why wouldn't the average sales price of these NFTs reflect human emotion with them as well and have some type of credence, some type of value to be able to extract the same way that a shitcoin does? So that may be an underrated opinion, but I believe it.
No, I was just picking up my dog. My dog was pooping, but I was going to say, yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like if you do, you gotta turn that on log. You gotta turn log on because that shit is volatile.
That's true, man. But looking at the Lil Pudgies, for instance, if the Lil Pudgies, if they were a shitcoin chart, I don't know anybody that would see that chart and would not be bullish, right? Same thing with the big Pudgies, but you're sitting there, you're looking at the floor price of a like, it accumulated, let's see this, all time, like accumulated in a range from like 0.05 to 0.05, the 0.05 range all the way from December through March. And then they broke up and, they averaged around 0.25 at the peak whenever they broke out in early April. And then they've consolidated back around the 0.1 as their baseline for months and months and months. And right now they're creeping back toward an average, they're 0.2 right now, back toward an average of 0.25. It just looks like there's going to be another breakout following that as well to me. And it's the same thing with the big pudgies, like they're really my test thesis of do charts work the same with this in the NFT space. And I think they do leading into it. We'll see.
You know what's even crazier? Well, I could speak about the pudgies because I've just followed the damn thing. I've been in there since day one. I mean, it's kind of funny that you can probably use like an analogy with BTC and ETH for the bigs and the littles. The littles definitely higher beta, and they lag. And the big, and people keep asking like, should I do this? Should I do that? And honestly, it just depends on. I feel like both collections are really just included if you're talking about like fundamentals or whatever. They're both part of important parts of the project. But right now, like if you buy a bunch of little pudgies, like you're probably going to get a better like RR on it, but you're going to be waiting a little bit longer. Just depending. And, when the big pudgies start mooning, like the littles take a while to catch up. But then when they do, they really send. And, just because there's a little bit more supply, but the ratio is so off on that compared to like the BA, the Bored Apes and the Mutants. That's probably going to fall in line when the big pudgies eventually get over the double-digit ETH barrier. But it's just funny how like they trade like BTC and ETH.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, though. You're right. Like, the ecosystem, one part of the ecosystem is not going to do well without the other part doing well. Like, it all has to be symbiotic. And, big pudgies will lead the way with that. But, you look at that chart, for instance, with the bigger pudgies floor chart, you're looking at like around 4 ETH or 3.5 ETH is where the average sales peaked back in August of 21. So about a year ago, then it had another peak up in April to 3.8. And then it's kind of, accumulated back down to the base range, gone back up, and, it's approaching that 3 point something level again. So even if it doesn't do it now, say that it takes another, few months to be able to break where it needs to with that. But, whenever it breaks that level, you're then asking yourself, okay, where does price discovery go as far as, the asset is concerned? And I believe it's something that's kind of funny that a lot of people used to say about like, NFTs are just in the early shitcoin days, is what people don't realize, right? If you talk about trading an NFT price based on USD, people will laugh at you. But if you convert like the pudgy price back to USD, its peak price, it peaked out the same both times, around 12 to 13K. And right now, 12 to 13K, as far as ETH is concerned, would lead, let's just call it like what, a 7 ETH, 8 ETH floor, whatever the heck it is. So you're looking at that 780 floor. That'd be where kind of the next area of, accumulation might happen. And then from there, say that it breaks out the same manner past 12K, you're asking yourself, okay, if you're applying TA to that chart and it continues higher, what is the continuation from that? And, you can start to look at like a lot of those different things that I think right now, the tools that people might laugh at, there really might be real alpha that can be extracted from it. And charting NFTs in general is just something that I think is not, really hasn't been explored yet, but it will be explored heavily in the future.
Yeah, next cycle we're gonna see those charts coming out from everyone. You got to lead the way with that.
Shitcoin, why can't you chart an NFT? Right?
True. Yeah. No, 100%. And I mean, even some of these like blue chip collections have more volume than some of these shit coins now, which is, I guess, saying something. But
exactly, and that's the thing. The volume is still so early on a lot of these, and so is the price and everything else. So if you're looking at it from that perspective, I guarantee you, Bog, there are going to be NFT derivatives that are figured out at some point of the next market. NFT collateral is going to be more and more of a thing, which will probably have its own 3AC Celsius Luna type effect at one point. But Like, people are going to explore these things because people are greedy and like they want to explore these things because there's potential for money. And then, as long as there's potential for profit, people are going to follow that and try to explore. And like, there will be some bad that comes along with it, probably a decent amount of that. But with all of that, there's going to be a lot of good and a lot of innovation that comes as well.
So true. I saw, I think, I forgot who it was. One of those accounts yesterday talking about like the reconstitution effect and how like fractionalized NFTs just don't work now. But I'm sure that's like a problem that will probably be solved, by the time next cycle comes along, because there's just so many people, so many smart people working on it now. It's just, things that that we didn't even thought like that really kind of conceptualized yet back in like 2017, 2018 that happened. And, it kind of went in a different direction, where, some of us with holding some of those shit coins are like, oh yeah, this is going to be the future or whatever. But there's definitely going to be, I guess the best way to think about it is like, like the if it's like a railroad, like the tracks are not really down yet. Like we got the car, we got the train, but the tracks are kind of getting put down. And it really is early. I mean, it's the first cycle. And I mean, you could count 2017 with the punks, but that's probably like the truth for like 2009 in Bitcoin. Like no one was really like aping into NFTs back then and really saw that like wave coming. I guess really the true like early adopters. But I think we're definitely early enough. It's just kind of figuring out like, adding to your winners right now is key, and kind of if you can cut your losers, if there's any volume left, if there's a scam pump or something, get out if you can. If you're holding on to some stuff, you gotta just be honest with yourself, because I'm not gonna lie, I for every like my strike rate with NFTs is pretty bad, but I'm luckily up big on my winners. But yeah, I'm everything in my hidden folder I'm gonna try to get rid of at some point between now and whenever, hopefully the next bull market will revive some of these crappy projects, but we'll see.
We will, man. We will. And yeah, but in the meantime, that's the key, I think, of the theme of the space today is just consolidate toward conviction. Where do you have higher levels of conviction, and not necessarily being so greedy? Like the bear market isn't about greedy quick flips. It's just not anymore. If you are a flipper in the bear market, you're going to have a lot higher of a chance of busting your, like portfolio a lot quicker, because especially considering the fact that like right now there are not derivatives for NFTs. You can't short NFTs, right? Like it's not something that can be done directly toward a collection. So it's very directional in the way that you can profit with them. And it just like when the liquidity dries up in certain things, it dries up fast, and that doesn't always mean death to a project, right? A lot of the times it just means that you've got a longer period of time to be able to consolidate and stack with the conviction, and then when the time picks up, because of there is after a while, with there being a lack of liquidity, what it leads to, as soon as that spark ignites, the way these projects can grow happens so quickly. And like that is still sitting there. It's a powder keg, and it'll sit dormant for a long time. It can sit dormant for a long time, but all it takes is one spark for the right project to be able to gain that momentum and to be able to set off and ignite.
Yeah. So you had made one point where I was just kind of thinking about it. Back in like February, March, before kind of things really went south, I with the collection I have a bunch of rares. I'm like, I'm not going to get rid of these, because it just didn't feel, even if I sell them and flip them, I just won't be able to get them back. And I think that the multiple will eventually be worth it. So I'm like, all right, let me try to short. I can't short NFTs. Let me try shorting ETH. And then I'm like, wait a second, let me try shorting looks, because what do you think about shorting exchanges as like a hedge to holding your NFTs?
I mean, like definitely can play in, right? But it all goes back to It's just dangerous, man, because it depends on the time of the market. Where say that NFT volume is completely dead and things are dying, but you're looking at like where we were last October, where later on in October, really November, I guess would be better said. There were a few projects that might have started to pick up, but like still NFTs, weren't doing a lot. Bored Apes were still sitting in the 30 to 40 ETH range, and a lot of the market was boring there with it. But I still think that you'd look at projects that might, Looks wasn't out yet, but other projects that might be kind of proxies as close as you can get. And I think a lot of them were still doing relatively well because Bitcoin was doing well. So, like, I just don't know. A lot of the time, that's the weird thing about underlying tokenomics versus just the pure fundamentals of what is actually behind the project. A lot of the time, these prices will just, perform as a mirror to BTC regardless, right? So right now with BTC being weak, then all of these obviously have seen major declines, but doesn't necessarily mean that I think that they'll always trade directionally with the volume. Obviously eventually they should catch up, but it's one of those things, just make sure to position yourself to where you can be patient with those positions entering into them too.
For sure. And I'm not talking about right now, obviously, but I'm kind of thinking in the future, because that's going to be like a question for people, in the next cycle. And you can't really truly like have a 1-for-1 hedge, and especially with ETH, because if you short ETH with an equal amount of, let's say, the floor price of your portfolio, it won't matter, because it gets undercut. And what's the true floor price, right? And we saw like the floors go down as well as the ETH price, so it compounds the move. So there's like kind of a levered effect, holding the NFT and what you need to do to hedge it. So it's just kind of interesting. And I'm like wondering like if anyone tried hedging or, on the way down and, was in a similar situation, or kind of what they would do moving forward. And, there'll probably be more like tools at our disposal next time around to do something like that. But I'm kind of trying to figure out like what that would even kind of look like.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. I'm telling you, what it really goes back to me about, as far as, again, saying NFTs have the most opportunity leading into the next bull market, is it's all about like, one, okay, where's regulation most heavily concentrated? NFTs are not there. Where is development in the infrastructure currently heavily most dedicated? Like NFTs aren't necessarily there yet, right? Yeah, a lot of the stuff that's happening right now aren't by larger corporations. They're mom and pop guys that, they started off flipping some NFTs, did well, and then started, business with their friends, right? Like that's where we are right now in the cycle for it. Like not a ton of regulation, and there's not a ton of, heavy big names that have created their own thing outside of, I guess, GameStop. Now GameStop is in there, but some of the other larger, more legitimate names haven't really even looked at it yet. They're still laughing at it. And I think that down the road, you look at a combination of just how easy it is for retail to be able to cling on to it and how retail can grow. All it's going to take is one next bull run to be able to ignite this again, and ignite it like it's never seen before. I'm telling you, man, it will do multiples and blow everyone's expectation away. What we saw with volume and what we saw with stuff take off in the last bull market, this next one like is going to completely put it to shame. And like it's just a matter of being patient. Can you survive the next couple of years to get there? And if you can survive the next like couple of years to be able to see that, you're going to see that type of growth. And the one thing I want to clarify is it's not necessarily going to be with all your dead bags, right? There's going to be a lot of dead bags that stay dead. So that's why high conviction plays now are important.
For sure. And just one more side point. How is like OpenSea like maintain, like, is the first mover advantage that strong? It's kind of like really Coinbase, or can't think of like another really kind of good, example of like how the hell are they like the leaders? And, there's so many other exchanges where I think, they've like looks actually, implemented a lot of like things that OpenSea was slacking on. And, I'm wondering if there is another exchange that kind of like overtakes them next cycle.
Yes.
They're just going to.
OpenSea will not be the leader next cycle. I will say that right now. There's no way in my mind that happens. It's like where whenever Poloniex and Bittrex were around, and those were the predominant leaders for shitcoins, right? Like, Polo was the leader. Then Bittrex came along. They were the leader. And like, Bittrex for a certain period of time, I was like, dude, there's no way anyone's taking away their volume. They're like, this is where you trade shitcoins. That's where all the movers happened. And then this like lesser known Chinese syndicate called Binance pops up, and like a few people start trading on it. And then Bittrex, reaches capacity and crashes so many times that eventually everybody's like, well, F it, I'm going to try Binance. And then Binance eventually takes off. And, same thing with like BitMEX and FTX, where FTX had their opportunity. They did a few things differently. Nobody thought BitMEX was going to lose their first mover advantage, and eventually they did. But that didn't stop them from having several really good years before that happened.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy because, I was reading something how they got rid of, 20% of their workers. I'm like, with all the capital they raised, I'm sure it was just an excuse to get rid of dead weight. But I'm like, how, like, they should be flush with cash. I don't know what the hell they're spending it on.
Yeah, that was actually when I learned that OpenSea had real employees. I didn't even know they could lay off 20%. I mean, unless if it was just like one person, I could see that 20%.
Yeah, I thought the only way you can get fired from OpenSea is front running all your users.
Yeah, and only after being exposed to it for a numerous amount of days. Easel, I see you got your hand up. What's going on, man?
How you guys doing? What's going on? It's a little hot
Good,
in here, man. I got I've been talking to T about the hub for the Wonky Stonks, and wanted to take this moment to, reach out to the community that I'll be looking for testers and some feedback for some of the community members that, really engage with the Wonkies. I think we'll set up a little channel to, have the feedback and like testing, and also some characters, some members of the community that I would like to like immortalize in the game. It's a game slash hub because there'll be utility built in, but there's going to be a little gameplay. So, I think it'll be fun to have maybe some, some good guys, some bad guys in there, that are part of the community. And I wanted to, pin a little bit of, a little preview of what the spaceship looks like. I think I just posted it.
Super stoked, man. Definitely count me in as a tester and to be immortalized in the game as well. Count me in.
Yeah, I just pinned Kaleo's secret wallet that is buying little budgies. JK. It's probably, but it has to be like, it's like a handful of people, but huge Chad.
Is it okay if I go and pin the hub?
Yeah, pin it, bro.
Yeah,
pin
man,
it.
of course.
Pin it and shoot it out there. Hey, and DM me directly, man. I'd love to look into it a little bit more too.
Definitely, man. We're gonna need your voice for something that I have in mind.
I want to give it a spin. I'm excited about that. Yeah, if y'all don't know, the alpha Easelbot's been working on a sandbox for the Wonky Stonk community. Basically, his metaverse version for the Wonkies. So I'm excited to see what he's been working on, man. It's been all the stuff he's dropped have been pretty sick. So I'm excited for it, man.
Thank you. It's up there. It's a little glimpse. I tried to keep things as quiet as possible in the meantime, but definitely appreciate some members coming in, and also you can give you like the bigger picture of what this is turning out to be.
Yeah, man, I'm hyped. Bro, is Solana down right now? I'm just curious.
Wouldn't surprise me, to be honest.
I don't know. Like I did a small transfer earlier today, and like typically it happens in a few seconds, And it's just like I confirmed the address and confirmed a lot of other things, and it's just sat out there on chain. I was just sending over enough for basically like putting an ETH in the wallet to be able to buy my little pudgies for the day. And it's just kind of like sat out in space for about like 8 hours now. And I'm like, well, fuck, if Solana's not down, I have no idea what the hell is happening with this. So I don't know. We'll see.
Why is there not a website that's like is DMX and JLR?
I think there is.
DMX?
I think
No,
there
there
is.
is a Solana down tracker.
Okay.
Yeah, this would be, I think, number 13 for the year. So that'd be like an average of 2 per month.
Imagine having like a Solana phone where you just don't get service for a day.
Bro, that'd be the best work phone though. Like, especially if you got a boss that's on your ass all the time.
Yeah, it's like you just like shrug, like, I don't know, man. Sam didn't want me to go to that meeting. I don't know what to say.
Be a good excuse to get out of work, though. I'm sorry, boss. My phone just goes down on occasions. I didn't get the text.
Oh man, yeah. Solana phone is another one that I still keep meaning to look into a little bit more. You know, it just here's the deal, man. I really think Solana has a high chance of success this next bull market if it can continue to make the improvements that the team and everybody else is obviously working toward. But I don't think it's going to be quite as easy to get out of beta as what it may seem. I still think they are literally years away from getting out of beta, like years away from being able to solve some of those issues. So in the meantime, the sacrifice that you pay for being early on something that has potential for that type of disruption is, the downs, the periods where the network are down, and also the risk that, they never do figure it out. And that there is shit that does happen, and understanding it is a bit more centralized at the moment to make it work the way that it works. But again, obviously, it's not one of those things where I'm going to say that they'll never get it figured out, because I think there's a decent chance that they do. But Solana is just like one of those big question marks as far as everything goes, where I think it's going to succeed. But, I wonder if it'll ever have its moment where it does blow up. And if it does, what that would look like across. And I'm going to get crucified by some Solana maxi for even saying any of this shit right now. But it's in the back of my mind that one day you could potentially see that Solana collapse. And what would that look like for shit coins across, everything?
Yeah, you're gonna get a wall of text DM right now from a Solana maxi.
I've got both the Solana founders that follow me. I've talked to them. But it's just, that is a big question mark that I have. And again, obviously somebody's going to share some articles with me for why that'll never happen. But, there's always believers of a project that, they'll believe it'll never happen, and they're blinded. They have blind spots, and something eventually can make it happen. So we'll see. Again, I think a lot of potential for disruption if it does work out. But again, just not quite as sure of a bet as ETH, which again, dude, I'm really digging a hole right now. I'm being too political with my statements.
No, man, it's good that you brought that up, because I've been seeing too much ETH slander by the Solana community over these past 2 weeks. So no, it's actually, your comments are definitely welcome.
I will say that's why, primarily, I'm more interested in ETH NFTs than I am Solana NFTs, though.
No, yeah, 100%. Me, I got I barely have any Solana NFTs. They do develop there. There are good, well thought out projects that reside on Solana, but I do see myself favoring ETH 9 times out of 10.
Nine out of 10, yeah. Again, it's that one though where you're betting a little bit more upon, and that one may be the one that ends up. leading you toward financial freedom, because that bet did pay off. It was a little bit riskier, but at the same time, shit got figured out. And like, clarifying for everybody on here, I do think Solana is going to be one of those leaders into the next bull run. I really do. There are some question marks where I don't. Yeah, they have to eventually be answered. So we'll see with all of that. I don't know, man. It's been kind of fun doing a different day for the space, a little Monday afternoon action rather than the Friday, Saturday that we typically stick to. So I appreciate everybody that's been able to hop on here. I didn't realize what time it was getting to. We've already gone through 2 hours without me even noticing. So let's see.
Did we end up doing a giveaway for this space?
Yeah,
or?
You know what I'm going to do, just for the sake of it, and you guys can do whatever you want with it. I'll give away 1 stonk to everybody on stage right now for y'all coming up.
Dude, I have too many. Don't give. I'll let you raffle.
I'm going to give it to you, and you'll give it to somebody else.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
care.
Okay.
You can give it away. Like I said, give it away.
All right.
Engagement farm with it.
Do something with it. Give it to somebody that you want to be part of.
That are on Twitter.
Okay, or Bog, you can pick somebody right now in the crowd for me to give it to.
Oh boy! All right. Am I biased if I give it to a penguin? I probably am, but
yeah, do it. I don't care.
All right. Let's give it to Fifi.
Okay, to who? You know what? DM me.
Okay.
Get their address for me. DM it to me, and I'll send it to them.
Yeah, Fifi, give me your address.
And now all of a sudden, that people are requesting to come up to stage. So yeah, you other guys, DM me your address. I'll shoot it over to you. And it's been a good space, y'all. I appreciate you guys coming up here, and we'll do this again probably Friday. Friday's the goal. So take it easy. Stick to high conviction plays.
Don't get wrecked tomorrow for the Fed. Don't try trading that right away. Don't get Darth Mauled.
That's a good point too. I'm going to set up another space, not an NFT one, but another one, talking through all that. So we'll be back on stage tomorrow with something else too. So it's been real, y'all.
Also, tune in tomorrow for, or not tomorrow, Wednesday.
Wednesday, yes, Wednesday, Room 110. I will be there Wednesday with Room 110. If you don't follow Room 110, a lot of good guys. I'm hopping on their space this Wednesday afternoon, so be on the lookout for that as well. So
you can just click on my profile and find the link to the Twitter page and my profile bio as well. But great having everyone on today. Great conversations. Go try Kolache if you haven't yet.
I haven't had lunch. I'm going to look for a Kolache place in Chicago. If anyone knows a Kolache place in Chicago, DM me.
All right, y'all.
Let's go.
Take it easy.
All right, have a great day.
If I may say something, please. I just want to thank you for the opportunity, and have a great night from London, and see you next time, guys. Thank you.